Yeah, typically understated and a very confident arrival for Dyson Parody, the second of the Gibraltarian qualifiers to make an appearance on the big stage today. And little wonder, a quarter-finalist, let's not forget 12 months ago when he beat Dirk van Dijvenbode, Jelle Klaassen and Max Hopp before losing to Michael van Gerwen 6-5 in the quarter-finals. Opening his campaign this time around against Magnus Caris, the Nordic and Baltic qualifier, who overcame Marco Cantele 6-4 in the final round of that to make his way onto the stage once again. We have seen plenty of him on the European Tour in the past, and he's here once again. So too is Chris Murphy.
Yeah, looking forward to this one. Dyson Parody is a man who has caused many an upset at the Gibraltar Darts Trophy and almost caused one of the biggest we perhaps might have ever seen when he took Michael van Gerwen all the way with all sorts of antics going on stage in that one. You feel though he'll just be looking
nearly off the stage as well.
Yeah. Gentlemen, first leg, Magnus to throw first. Game on.
You feel that he'll be just looking to try and sort of warm his way into the tournament, save his antics for Sunday if he gets that far.
If he gets that far, Magnus Caris will certainly have plenty to say about that.
He's making a very good start.
Oh.
Fabulous start from old Poker Face.
Well, that's a perfect way to announce yourself back on the European Tour. First appearance
83.
on the European Tour this year. He played at the European Match Play in Hamburg in 2016, went out at the hands of Terry Jenkins in that one. But prior to that, we hadn't seen him on the European Tour since he lost to Dave Ladley in Sindelfingen in 2015.
95.
48 years old, Magnus Caris against the 32-year-old Dyson Parody.
70.
Yeah, been around a long time, Caris. 23 years since he reached the BDO World Championship semi-final, lost to Bobby George by one set as well then.
Finding the treble bed with regularity
78.
here, although he just strayed off there into the three just to derail himself slightly here, but in control in this first leg, you have to say, after 9 darts.
100. Magnus, you require 154.
Well, Parody is seen as the main hope here for the Gibraltar fans. Doesn't like that one, Caris. Little raised eyebrow.
40.
Let's just open the door here for Parody slightly. If he can post a ton 40 or better, it might just ask 1 or 2 questions of the Swede. But he won't do that.
60. Magnus, you require
Caris can clean it
140.
up. Started very, very well. Only needs 1 treble in this visit. 54. Because that leaves double top.
94.
Not far away, but he will return for the double 10 because Parody is not on a checkout.
$140.
Well, it's a ton
Magnus, you require
40, and
20.
it's met with some venom and a bit of gusto, but it might all be for nothing here because Caris is on double 10. Parody delighted to be in contention in this first leg.
Well,
And he may well be more than that as well if Caris
10
fluffs his
score.
lines here.
Dyson, you require 48.
I think that was purely a tactical ploy.
Just to put a bit of gamesmanship on the board there as well.
Game show on the
And
first
there we
leg,
see
Dyson
the
Parody.
first illustration of Dyson Parody's
Second leg is
stage
Dyson to throw
presence and
first.
the way he responds to any
Game
success
on.
that comes his way. It was a leg that looked beyond him, to be fair.
Well, will we see Poker Face let us know what he's thinking if Parody continues? I said that he may just, you know, quietly warm his way into the tournament, but none of it from Parody.
32.
And he kicks off with 32. There's no gusto met with that particular visit. Mentioned he beat Jelle Klaassen en route to the quarters last year. The Dutchman lies in wait again for the winner of this one. So potentially Parody and Klaassen meeting again
57.
in Gibraltar.
I'm not sure there's many players who would have wanted to have drawn Dyson.
He
140.
he never leaves you in any doubt about what he's thinking, though, and he's not a shy presence, is he?
Certainly not, and he did rattle Michael van Gerwen. Michael van Gerwen got over the line in that match last year, but he did rattle him, and it was more that Michael said he was taking his time getting back to retrieve his darts after he'd hit a big score. A month later, we saw Adrian Lewis do something very similar without the loud bellowing in the World Cup, and he beat Michael van Gerwen then. In fact, both of these players will be at the World Cup. It's a good time for them to qualify for a European Tour event.
Yeah.
Next month, they're both going to be there in Frankfurt.
I was just going to mention about what Parody had been up to since we last saw him in Gibraltar on the European Tour. He teamed up with Manuel Valerio at the World Cup last summer. They lost to the Norwegian pair of Robert Wagner and Cord Decker.
140.
They fared slightly better the year before when they beat Italy 5-2 and then got beat by Australia. But Parody had a crack at the World Championship qualifiers.
47.
He lost to the Spaniard Javier Garcia Toquero in the semi-finals of that one. John Michael was the man who came through that particular segment of qualifying.
This year he's going to be paired with Dylan Duo, who's in action
83.
later this evening against James Wilson. And of course, Magnus, or partner, Daniel Larsson, who we've seen on the Euro Tour this year.
Yeah, beat Pike 6-0, didn't he, in one of the previous events this year on the European Tour. Yeah, of the 5 Gib players involved this weekend, only Parody and Anthony Lopez played last year. No David Francis, no George Federico.
93.
This year.
Dyson
Dan Dawson's
161.
disappointment. Provided a terrific highlight last year with his 119 checkout against Alan Norris. What a moment that was. Parody here with work to do.
41.
If he wants to avoid an instant break back here by Magnus Caris, who's looking at double 16, you'd fancy his chances here. He's got
Вирусная
3 darts
угроза
in
была
hand at double
обнаружена.
16. That's a long way off, and it's pitched slightly awkwardly as well. And that isn't helping matters either.
16.
Just a bit of an opportunity now for Parody. Shanghai on 20s to steal this one, consolidate the break and lead 2-0.
What sort of celebration will follow this? Double top.
100.
Well, it wasn't far away.
Magnus requires 60.
Caris far from convincing on the double so far.
Yeah, missed 7 already in this match.
There's another.
Game shot on the second leg.
But he'll be breathing a little easier now. It's a 20
Magnus
darts
to throw first. Game on.
hold of throw for, sorry, 20 dart break for Magnus Caris. 1 break apiece, 1 leg apiece. Parody silenced momentarily there.
This is
99.
the penultimate match of this afternoon session. Paul Nicholson taking to the stage after this pair up against Chris Quantock. Wonderful stuff, and off he goes.
80.
Not quite a lap of honour of the stage, but pretty close to it.
Well, this is a response.
Right back at you, is it?
108.
Magnus Caris with a perfect response with his darts and a nice little touch as well, as he just glances towards the crowd as if to say, I can do it too, you know.
68.
Well, he needed that treble 20 there, did Parody, otherwise he could have been in a real spot of bother.
It looks like we know what we're going to get from Dyson Parody in this tournament.
It must be, as an opponent, if you're playing Parody and he does that time and time again after every 180, it must
60.
begin to grate
82.
a little bit. I mean, I know this is his, relatively speaking, it's his moment in the sun, I suppose, playing on the European Tour in front of his home crowd, but I suppose it's up to his opponents just to keep him in check, which is what Caris is trying to do here. And he's doing it very nicely as well. Just a little acknowledgement to the crowd there.
Game on.
Just silencing the crowd with his darts. Trailed 1-0, leads 2-1.
Yeah, just to come back on your point about, you know, does it get under the opponent's
81.
skin? I think it's probably more of an issue to an opponent on a day like today when it's a Friday afternoon session, obviously a working day, not many people in yet, and you can hear a pin drop at times, and then he hits a 140 and
85.
screams so loud that it's kind of almost like doing it on a Pro Tour event where it wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah.
If you're playing in a Premier League and there's a wall of noise behind you, it's not really going to make that big of a
100.
difference. To be fair to Dyson, then he just looked to be waving the finger at some of his fans in the crowd then, telling them just to
Keep a lid on it a bit.
Yeah.
42.
Remain respectful, at least while Magnus is throwing his darts.
$60.
Listen, haven't heard a squeak since Dyson told them off.
99.
Too scared to make a noise now.
He's not a man that you want to argue with, is he?
No. I'm hoping to God he didn't hear what I said either. We're not too far away from the stage, and our words could easily carry over beyond the curtain.
Yeah, we certainly heard him, didn't we? Maybe looking to fire in a big score now.
Oh, that's the final dart from Caris there, and to an extent he's in control of this leg on the Parody throw once more. Parody could do with another one of those.
100. Magnus, you require
Down to a Shanghai finish once again. Caris on 145 in the balance this fourth leg. Potentially a decisive moment in the match. If Caris can establish a two-leg lead, that could well be significant.
105.
Yeah, good final dart that.
Dyson, you require 120.
Makes all the difference. Parody. Shanghai needs the treble. Actually, was the first dart in the 5 as well?
44.
My eyes deceived me there
Magnus, you
momentarily.
require 40.
A double top for Caris. For a bit of daylight. Should be able to use that. But it caught the flight and was diverted from its path. Clear target, double 10. And a
Dyson, you
bit
require 76.
of a let off really for Dyson. Can he hoover up this 76 finish?
Only a matter of time, that, Chris. Anyway, Topsy wants to level things up.
36.
And it just nudges the wire, and
Magnus,
Caris
you require 20.
is back in the money once again here, potentially.
Yeah, poker face wants a pair of 10s.
Here, show on the fourth leg. Magnus Caris.
And that's exactly what he's
The
produced
leg is
from up his
Magnus to
sleeve.
throw first. Game on.
That was, as I say, we may look back on that as a potentially decisive leg when we come to the final reckoning. Parody just seems to have lost a bit of impetus here now. Needs to get back on track with a break of throat.
The way
44.
the order of players done, they're actually scheduled in before they knew which players had qualified. So it would say, for example, host nation qualifier 1 would be put in a certain
43.
slot. And I think that Parody perhaps would have thrived more in an evening session. Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. That particular advantage, if it is an advantage, has gone to Manuel Valerio, by the way, and Anthony Lopez, both involved in the final 2 matches of the evening session. Dylan Duo also involved tonight as well, but slightly earlier on. Dylan Duo playing James Wilson. Valerio up against Darren Johnson. Lopez faces Van den Berg.
100.
So tough assignments for all 3. Could well be a disappointing day, shall we say, for the Gibraltar fans. Tall order anyway.
Вирусная угроза была
Here,
обнаружена.
but still involved, still in the hunt. Caris not really running away with this leg on his throat.
81.
241 after 9 darts for Magnus Caris. Parody just behind him.
He hasn't flinched, has he, with the pressure put on him by Parody,
60.
both in terms of the darts thrown and vocally earlier on in the match. And we have seen Magnus Caris buckle before under similar pressure. It was at the World Championship. He
100.
missed 3 darts to wrap up a straight sets win against Steve Beaton. And the crowd were on Beaton's side, shall we say.
Yeah.
And Caris let the crowd know what he thought and completely collapsed and went on to lose the match.
85.
I guess it works the other way for him. He'd be glad that if he is going to play Dyson, he's played him this afternoon.
137. Magnus, you require 115.
So Parody with a great opportunity to find the break that he needs. Unless Caris can find 115. That's the perfect first start. 55 away. Tops then. For 4-1. And that will really hurt Dyson Parody. And the reaction tells its own story, Chris Murphy.
Certainly does. Sucker punch from Magnus Caris. 115 checkout. Would it just spark a response?
85.
Yeah, Parody must have thought he was potentially going to have 3 darts at tops there to break back and reduce the deficit to 3-2. Instead, he finds himself 4-1 down.
Yeah, it's a completely different game then, isn't it? Caris landed
100.
a timely checkout.
Two breaks to 1 then here.
135.
In favour of the Swede. Player who won the final Scandinavian Tour event of the year in October.
I mentioned Caris's BDO World Championship exploits. It hasn't been as much fun for him in the PDC. Alexandra Palace. He's appeared 5 times, and each time he's lost
100.
in the first round.
Yeah, Adrian Lewis most recently.
Yeah, and 3 of those, including that Lewis one, were 3-0 defeats as well. Robert Thornton and Mervyn King both whitewashing Magnus.
He did miss a dart to level the match at 1 set all though against Lewis, and I think from that moment on, once that had got away from him, he buckled somewhat. But not buckling here.
100.
It's had 1-1-5 last leg. 1-2-1 could really have Dyson against the ropes. And he's going to get a dart. Would it be at the bull? No, it will be at double 14.
93.
Just wide of the mark.
81.
But this has to go.
Yep, otherwise Caris will be back in the hunt once again. Parody on 81, just missing the treble instead, so he's looking at the bullseye.
56. Magnus, you require 20.
And that could well be that as far as this leg is concerned. 3 bites at the cherry here for double 14 for Magnus Caris. Wasn't far away last time. That's further away, though, with his first dart. Double 7, then.
Game show on the
Right
leg.
in the corner. And Magnus Caris pointing the way once again. Just another gesture towards his corner. And he leads by 5 legs to 1. And this is looking a very, very tall order indeed now for Dyson Parody. 5-1 he trails. He needs to win 5 on the spin. And memories of 2016 already fading here, Chris, you feel?
Yeah, certainly he's had some good moments in this tournament. As we said, took Michael Van Gerwen all the way in the quarterfinals last year. Missed 3 darts to beat MVG, of course. Even in defeat a couple of years before that, he took out 160 checkout against Gary Anderson.
60.
Even if he is to lose this match, is there time for one Parody special? Just to add to his ever-growing reel of highlights from the Gibraltar Darts Trophy.
Yeah, you wouldn't put it past him, but like I say, I think his chance has gone here. We have seen time and time again players find themselves in this position. Darren Johnson, a good example this year against James Wade earlier on in the European Tour campaign.
100.
5-1 down, he trailed in that match, came back to win 6-5 in the second round. But Caris just looks to be in control here. And Parody not really landing any punches. He's had a long time to, or comparatively a longer time to prepare for this campaign. He came through qualifying at the end of March for this particular tournament. It was held in Gothenburg, so it was, what, 6 weeks ago almost now? Maybe over 6 weeks ago.
123.
Whereas Parody came through qualifying last
161.
night.
Well, is it Caris that's going to produce a showstopper? Looking for treble 17.
Finds the 3 instead, but
123.
won't be too concerned with Parody on 2-1-8s. I suspect he'll split that as well, unless Parody puts some pressure on here.
100. Magnus, you require
it's a decision
38.
that Caris has to make here now. Does he have the confidence to go for the split, or will he just go aggressively towards the double 19? Yep, he has split it. Double 16, then 2 bites at double 16 for a place in the second round, and a meeting with Yellow Klassen tomorrow.
13.
But another chance for Parody to
Tyson, you require
fight back once again.
118.
Well, it's a wild miss. The Swede looked bemused, confused. Parody needs a treble, can't find one, so Caris will return to
100.
Mop up this
Magnus,
25.
you require 25.
I think 9 for double 8, but there are plenty of ways to go for this.
Well, 9 double 8s is the route. Will it be a route to glory for Magnus Caris? Not with the first darts. Won't want to give Parody too much encouragement here. He will
17.
thrive on any encouragement that comes his way.
Tyson, you
He
require
will, and when
18.
Caris has been missing, especially on the left-hand side of the board, if he's missed outside, it's landed in a very awkward position for him to get around. Parody goes straight for the double 9.
No
Cannot
score.
find it, and surely
Magnus, you require 8.
that was his last chance.
You would suspect so. He's missed 4 darts for the match already. Make that 5.
Game shot.
But
And the
no
match,
mistake this
Magnus
time around.
Caris.
It's a shake of the hand. Dyson Parody, quarter-finalist 12 months ago here in Gibraltar, will not be a quarter-finalist once again. It's the end of the road at the very first hurdle for the Gibraltarian, and it's looking very bleak indeed in that. As far as their prospects are concerned, 3 hopes left to come this evening. It all rests on the shoulders of Dylan duo Manuel Valerio and Anthony Lopez. Dyson Parody beaten by 6 legs.